We all know that beavers build dams, but we don't usually think about them building dams in urban or suburban areas. But of course it happens, and I should know. I'm from Martinez, where some beavers historically built some pretty famous dams in 2007. Now, Martinez is on the Carquinez Strait. It happens to be the hometown of John Muir, and the beavers that moved in to Alhambra Creek, they built a dam and a lodge. Our city was pretty concerned about the location of this dam. Martinez is very low-lying and has lots of problems with flooding historically. They got a permit pretty quickly to depredate or kill these beavers because they thought the dam was going to make the risk of flooding worse. But this was in the middle of town, and as you can see, these happen to be fairly easy to see beavers. So all the jurors on their way to the courtroom, all the lawyers parking to go in, all the children on their way to school, they could all see these beavers, and people got pretty engaged with them. It's not every day you see some beavers in an urban creek, and we all hoped, what if there was some other way to solve the problem of flooding besides killing them? People would gather, stand on the bridges, and watch them, and at that time, Mom Beaver was pregnant. She actually gave birth to 4 little kids, which were also adorable, also visible in the center of town, and you could sit at Starbucks then and have your morning latte and watch them play. You could even hear them. It was the sound, this low whine that beavers make, almost like a child, that got me involved. I thought, do the people that want these beavers dead even know about this sound? And if I let these beavers die, when am I going to hear that sound again? Now, I was pretty happy that the media was very interested in reporting on the controversy. At one time, we were in all the local papers and the state papers, and we were even on national news. There was going to be a big meeting to discuss the fate of these beavers, and 200 people came to that meeting. Now, think about it. These are urban beavers in a refinery town in the Scrubby Creek, a town that has expanded so much in recent years that nobody really wanted the same things. But people for this meeting came from uptown, downtown, and out of town, and they all said pretty much the same thing. We do not want you to kill these beavers. The city decided to buy some time by appointing a subcommittee, which I was on, and we hired this gentleman, Skip Lyle. He came out from Vermont and installed a flow device. Now, the way a flow device works is it moves the water from upstream to downstream, and it does it in such a way that the water loss gets disguised from the beavers. Since this was installed in the first days of 2008, nobody in Martinez is worried about flooding from the beaver dam. This entirely fixed our problem. More than this, because the beavers stayed in the area during this time and used their naturally territorial behaviors to keep others away, we didn't end up with more families. No one else moved in. We didn't have a population explosion, and the community could observe and watch these beavers. They were very generous with their lives, and they let us see a lot of what went on. Here are 2 kits engaged in mutual grooming, which you can tell feels pretty fantastic. Parents are great role models. Both parents raise the kits. Mom and Dad mate for life. Here's Dad with 2 kits on his back, teaching him how to swim. And here's Mom and Dad working side by side on the dam with Junior, teaching him how to build it for himself when he grows up. Now, our beaver built what's called a bank lodge, and I'm going to show you footage of Mom Beaver working on that lodge. And she does that by walking on her hind feet and carrying mud and sticks above her paws and under her chin. And she'll do this over and over again till it has the level of insulation she's looking for. Now, I call this Mom Beaver. How would I know? Because beavers are what's called monomorphs. They have no external sex characteristics, except for when the female is breastfeeding. And when Mom was breastfeeding, we were able to see that she had a distinctive marking in her tail. And that was important for the community because that meant that every time we saw that tail, we knew it was Mom. Now, during the time the beavers lived with us in Alhambra Creek, they had 24 kids in our creek. And because when these kids get to be 2 years old, they go off to seek their own fortune, to find their own habitat, we didn't have a population explosion. Our population never got higher than 7, and that really relieved a lot of people in Martinez. We also got to see the dramatic changes the beavers made in our creek. Now, beavers are a keystone species, which means they have a disproportionate effect on the environment. And they do that because their dam traps sediment on organic material, which gets broken down by tiny bugs that we can't see, which get eaten by bigger bugs that we can see. But it's also important to remember that beavers are constantly moving and removing mud. They're scraping it up the pond floor, and they're dumping it on the dam or the lodge. And what this constant excavation means is that we end up with a pond floor that has many different elevations, and these different elevations appeal to different insects. So we end up with a bug bloom at a beaver pond, and that means that everything that eats those bugs and everything that comes to eat the things that eat those bugs does better at a beaver pond. Our bird population and fish population dramatically increased when we allowed the beavers to stay in Alhambra Creek. I love this photo because you can see that the water's so thick with fish that when this beaver pushes up to work on the dam, he actually gets one on his eye. More fish mean more fish eaters, and that includes birds, reptiles, and mammals. We used to rarely see green heron in the creek. Now we see them all the time, and they're in residence. Same with our pond turtle population, which increased dramatically. Our kingfisher population also increased, and we have them breeding in the area. It's nice because if you go down to the beaver dam, you never really know one night what you're going to see. Our egrets and herons all increased. We had visits from wood duck and hooded merganser that you see here. This guy came in his play clothes to check it out. Liked it so much, he came back in his fancy clothes. And we have these ducks on Main Street in Martinez every year because of the beavers. Even our mallards produce better clutches and better surviving clutches because of the beaver ponds. Look at that beaver swim up and say, "Yeah, thank me for this pond I gave you." It's great because if kids come down to see the beavers, then they might not see them, but they might see the baby ducks or the muskrat. Our muskrat population went way up, and our visits from river otters also went way up. People were just not surprised because river otters eat fish, and the fish are there to eat the bugs, but they were surprised when we saw this face. This is a mink. We hadn't seen mink in Alhambra Creek for 25 years. This guy came in with his mother and siblings, and we know that he was there to eat the muskrat, that were there to enjoy the habitat and eat the plants and animals there, and it was all there because of the beavers. The beavers made our creek more lively, but they also made our community more lively. We saw people really get engaged, talking to their neighbors, talking to total strangers, really coming down and supporting the Beavers, but also getting other people involved and engaged as well. I started the organization Worth a Dam because I wanted to teach our city how to live with beavers, but also to teach other cities how and why to do it. We have a Beaver Festival every year, and we have wildlife groups from all over Northern California. We have live music, we have beaver tours, and we have children's activities, and we really do a lot of education and outreach at the event. But to be honest, the very first Beaver Festival we held in 2008 was just because the city hadn't made up their minds yet whether or not to kill the beavers. And we thought it would be harder to make the wrong decision after we threw a party for them. But it turned out, the festivals turned out so much fun that we decided to have them every year. One of the first activities we did with kids was to have them draw wildlife that lives in the creek on ceramic tiles, which we were able to fire and have installed at the bridge where the beavers live. And that's nice because it's a permanent civic art project that reminds people of the role of the beavers in Martinez. We also recently completed a painted mural on the opposite bridge that really shows their impact on the wildlife and the community. Our Beaver Festivals every year are blessed with a dramatic contribution from Bob Russ, a resident of Martinez, who uses his creativity to create something new about beavers. This year it was the beaver bike. One year it was a giant inflatable beaver. One year it was a mechanical beaver. And one year it was a wattle and daub beaver. So we don't know what he's going to do next year, but you should come see. Beavers are really how the West was watered and how it can be again. We know that urban beavers promote a city's good nature. And in Martinez, we found out they make fantastic neighbors. Thank you very much.